Most of us don't know how to listen to that important messenger, and so we misunderstand our actual experience. Feelings are a fundamental aspect of our internal communication system. And when we don't pay attention to them, well, you could say that we're having an internal miscommunication.
I don't like to argue, so I say nothing and fume for days.
How do I set boundaries without sounding like a jerk?
I hate the idea that I might accidentally offend somebody, so sometimes I'd just rather say nothing at all.
Welcome to the Language Alchemy podcast, and thank you for joining me today. This is your host, Alejandra, a transformative communication teacher and coach devoted to helping you have more peace and more harmony in all your relationships. A big component of my work as a transformative communication teacher and coach has to do with helping my students and coaching clients to communicate their feelings skillfully. Over the years, I found that every person who comes to me for communication support has difficulty communicating feelings. So, if you also find it hard to talk about your feelings and communicate your feelings, you're not alone. When we talk about feelings and communication, there is a lot to talk about. So I'm going to devote several episodes to talking about feelings, emotions, and communication. Right now, you are listening to part 1. And before we go into the specific topic of this episode, if you're perfectly human, which you are, like all my clients, it is hard to communicate feelings, or it's hard to communicate certain feelings. Maybe like my clients, you don't know that it's possible to communicate certain feelings skillfully. Or maybe you don't know if it's okay to feel certain feelings. Or maybe you don't know how to communicate certain feelings. Or maybe you don't know what to say when someone communicates certain feelings to you. And you may be wondering, how come it can be so hard to communicate them? And by the way, isn't it true that it's bad to communicate certain feelings in some contexts, like at work? Well, if you're asking these questions, I am so glad you are here. This podcast series on feelings and communication will be very useful for you. I can assure you that you are going to learn a lot. You may find yourself coming back to these episodes. For now, you may want to grab a pen or paper or your note-taking app and write down what you're learning here. Today, we'll focus on what feelings are, where you can locate your feelings, and of course, I'm going to give you an important action to take. The truth is that we're constantly experiencing feelings. Feelings are a natural part of our human experience. Feelings are human, and all human beings have feelings. Yes, you and I and all of us, we all have feelings. In fact, we have multiple feelings throughout the day, and sometimes we have a combination of feelings simultaneously. Shall we try a little experiment right now? Okay, so bring to mind this morning when you woke up. What feelings were there? Were you feeling tired, energized, optimistic, hopeful, sad? How about a little later when maybe you gave yourself the space to meditate, to move your body, to journal? What feelings were present then? Calmness, frustration, anxiety, spaciousness, overwhelm? And how about after meditation or movement or journaling? Did you feel relaxed, rejuvenated, disappointed, grateful? If I went on and on and on describing your day up to the moment when you are right here, right now, listening to this podcast, most likely we would be able to find that you have already experienced many feelings today. Yes, we are constantly experiencing feelings. But what are these things we call feelings that we are experiencing all the time? Well, there are different ways of describing feelings depending on the field of study from which you're looking at them. You can find different definitions of feelings from psychology, sociology, philosophy, linguistics, physiology, neuroscience, spirituality, etc. From the perspective of language alchemy, which integrates all the fields I just mentioned with the field of communication, feelings are energies that come and go. They are one of the closest layers of our experiencing. Let me explain what I mean by that. When we have an experience, the first layer of that experience may come through the senses. For example, we're driving and we see a ball rolling down the street towards our car. That is the first layer of our experience. Our senses send information to us in energetic form, aka a feeling. Maybe we'd stop breathing for a second or our belly contracts and we feel surprised, scared, or alert. These feelings are quick messengers that inform our actions. So in this case, for example, we slam on the brakes. Let me give you another example. You're listening to the radio and the next song on the radio is a song you used to love when you were a teenager. So immediately after this information comes through your senses, through your listening, something happens in your body. There's some kind of energy that can be sensed or felt. This energy is a feeling. When that favorite song came on the radio, maybe you felt happy or melancholic or energized or giddy. So see, we're constantly having feelings, and feelings are these messengers that communicate to us something important about our experience. Now, most of us don't know how to listen to that important messenger, and so we misunderstand our actual experience. Feelings are a fundamental aspect of our internal communication system, and when we don't pay attention to them, well, you could say that we're having an internal miscommunication. Feelings happen in the body. When we are paying attention to these important messengers, we can notice a felt sense of what we are experiencing in our bodies. Sometimes that felt sense is a surge of energy flowing, a pulsing, a sensation in our fingers, a shift in our heartbeat. Sometimes it's a contraction, tension. Sometimes it's a shift in temperature. Sometimes it's a movement, like a sensation of falling, shaking, or butterflies in the stomach. If you are someone who doesn't know how to communicate your feelings, if you go blank when someone asks you how you feel, or if you've heard people who are dear to you say that they would feel closer to you if they could hear you talk about how you feel, then you need to start paying attention to your body sensations. You need to start becoming familiar with your body sensations. Because again, these body sensations carry very important information that communicates to you what kind of experience you're having, or how you're experiencing what you are experiencing. Or as I will share with you in this series, when you are aware of what your feelings are communicating to you, then you can discover your unconscious biases and beliefs. You can uncover your precious needs. You can contact your core values, your deep longings, your qualities, your capacities. You can turn them into skillful actions. So, feelings, yes, they are very important. If we use the analogy of a computer, a feeling is an integral part of the operating system. And if you are the kind of person who's trying to optimize or upgrade your operating system without understanding your feelings, each upgrade will present more bugs and more glitches. So I'm going to leave you with an important awareness exercise to help you notice this important communication messenger that needs your attention. For the next week, ask yourself, what is happening in my body? Is there tension here? How's my breath? How's energy flowing in my body? And if you would like extra points after you notice the felt sense in your body, you can ask yourself, What feeling is this sensation communicating to me? You may find that the sensation communicates peace, anxiety, love, fear, anger, tiredness, relief, or some other feeling. Something you can do to remind yourself to do this is to set a reminder on your calendar or your mobile phone, just like you may have done it with a mindfulness app, so that when you get that reminder, you can ask yourself what's happening in your body. And when you do this, you will have taken the most important step in learning to understand your feelings. Now, let's recap what we talked about in this episode. In this episode, we talked about feelings, about the fact that feelings are messengers of your internal communication system. You also heard that we're constantly having them, and you learned where and how you can locate your feelings. Finally, I gave you a task to start understanding these important internal messengers. And before I say goodbye, I want to remind you that I put together a transformative communication toolkit to help you with specific communication issues. I will email that toolkit to you. If you'd like to receive it, and I can guarantee that it will be a very valuable resource, go to languagealchemy.com and sign up for my mailing list. That's how you're going to receive that transformative communication toolkit. Thank you so much for listening. And a special thanks to my clients Molly and Jared for learning to understand and locate their feelings. Next week, we'll talk about why it's difficult for most of us to communicate our feelings. Until next week, and as we say in Argentina, ciao ciao. Original music by Gary LaPoe. You can find all links in the show notes at languagealchemy.com.